What if the reason you feel overwhelmed isn't because life is too hard, but because you're trying to control the wrong things? Think about it. You wake up already tense. Notifications, deadlines, other people's moods. The world feels loud, unfair, and out of your control. Now here's the wild part. Nearly 2,000 years ago, the most powerful man on earth felt the exact same way. And instead of losing his mind, he wrote himself notes to survive it. His name was Marcus Aurelius, Roman emperor, commander of armies, ruler of an empire drowning in war, plague, and political betrayal. And yet, his private journal, Meditations, reads like it was written for you. Because this isn't a book about power, it's a book about peace. And today, you're the hero of this story. Let's rewind for a second. Imagine having absolute authority. You could punish anyone, silence critics, take whatever you want. But instead, every night, Marcus asked himself one question. How do I stay a good man in a chaotic world? That question alone should stop you in your tracks, because most of us ask the opposite. How do I make life easier? How do I get people to change? How do I stop feeling like this? Marcus didn't try to control the world. He learned to control himself. And that's where Stoicism begins. Here's the core idea that runs through Meditations like a backbone. Some things are up to you. Some things are not. That's it. That's the game. You can't control what people say about you, how others behave, the economy, the past, random chaos. But you can control your thoughts, your actions, your values, your response. Most of our suffering comes from confusing those two lists. We rage at traffic, obsess over opinions, replay conversations that already ended. Marcus would say, "You're exhausting yourself fighting a war you can't win." And here's where it gets real. Wait till you hear this. Marcus believed that pain doesn't come from events. It comes from the story you tell yourself about them. Someone insults you. The words are just sound waves. The pain comes when you decide, they disrespected me. I've been wronged. This means something about my worth. Marcus writes, "Choose not to be harmed, and you won't feel harmed." That sounds impossible at first, almost insulting. But think about it. Two people hear the same insult. One laughs, the other spirals for days. Same event, different perception. The Stoic move isn't denial. It's distance. Pause. Step back. Ask, is this actually bad, or am I labeling it as bad? That single question can save you years of emotional chaos. And yes, your brain will fight you on this. It loves drama. It loves stories. It loves being right. But peace doesn't come from being right. It comes from being clear. Now let's zoom out even more. Marcus was obsessed with one uncomfortable truth. Everything ends. Your job, your reputation, your body, your problems. Alexander the Great conquered the world. His mule driver didn't. Both turned to dust. Marcus wasn't being morbid. He was being focused. Because when you truly accept impermanence, you stop wasting energy on nonsense. You stop chasing applause. You stop panicking over small things. You start asking better questions. Did I act with integrity today? Was I patient? Was I useful? Not impressive, not famous. Useful. That's Stoic success. But here's where most people misunderstand Stoicism. It's not passive, it's not cold, and it's definitely not weak. Marcus believed obstacles weren't interruptions, they were the path. He wrote one of the most powerful lines in philosophy, greater than "what stands in the way becomes the way." Rude coworker? Practice patience. Failure? Learn strategy. Loss? Build resilience. Stoicism doesn't remove hardship, it transforms it. And this is the moment where the hero, you, steps forward. Because chaos isn't leaving your life, but your relationship with it can change. But here's where it gets even deeper. Because Marcus believed that no matter how bad things get outside, you have something no one can touch. An inner citadel, a mental fortress. War, sickness, betrayal. None of it can force you to abandon your values, unless you let it. But there's a catch. If you fill your mind with anger, resentment, and revenge, that fortress turns into a prison. So the real work isn't escaping the world, it's guarding your thoughts. And that brings us to the most misunderstood Stoic idea of all. But here's where it gets really real. Stoicism isn't about isolating yourself from people. It's about learning how to live with them without losing yourself. Marcus Aurelius didn't rule from an ivory tower. He dealt with backstabbers, complainers, ego-driven politicians, and outright fools. Sound familiar? Every morning he reminded himself of something most of us avoid thinking about. Today I shall meet people who are meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, deceitful, jealous, and surly. Not exactly a motivational quote you'd hang on your wall. But it worked, because when you expect difficulty, it loses its power to shock you. Most frustration comes from broken expectations. You expect people to be fair, to be rational, to be kind, and when they're not, you feel personally attacked. Marcus flipped the script. He told himself, they act this way because they don't know better. Not as an excuse, as an explanation. And that changes everything. Here's the Stoic reframe that saves your sanity. People aren't obstacles, they're training partners. That annoying coworker? They're teaching you patience. That unfair boss? They're teaching you resilience. That rude stranger? They're teaching you self-control. This doesn't mean you tolerate abuse. It means you stop letting other people decide your inner state. Because the moment someone can ruin your mood, they control you. And Marcus refused to give that power away. But here's where most people mess this up. They think Stoicism means being emotionally numb. It doesn't. Marcus felt anger, grief, fear, doubt. The difference is, he didn't let those emotions drive the car. Think of emotions like weather. They pass through. But if you treat every feeling like a command, you become reactive. Stoicism teaches response over reaction. Pause, breathe, choose. That pause is where freedom lives. Now let's talk about one of Marcus's most powerful mental tools. It's called the view from above, and it's deceptively simple. When you're overwhelmed by work, drama, anxiety, imagine rising above the situation. See yourself from the ceiling, then the building, then the city, then the country, then Earth. Your problem doesn't disappear, but your ego shrinks. And suddenly, that embarrassing moment, that argument, that setback, doesn't feel so permanent. Stoicism doesn't say, nothing matters. It says, not everything deserves your energy. And that's a huge relief. Quick reality check. How much of your stress comes from things you won't care about in 5 years? Or even 5 weeks? Marcus constantly reminded himself, soon you will have forgotten everything. Soon everything will have forgotten you. Again, this isn't depressing. It's liberating. Because if nothing lasts forever, then you're free to stop performing. Free to stop proving. Free to stop chasing approval. You don't need to be remembered. You need to be right now. Right in your actions. Right in your choices. And that leads to one of the most misunderstood Stoic principles, memento mori. Remember, you will die. Not someday, not theoretically. You could leave life right now. Marcus didn't write this to scare himself. He wrote it to wake himself up. Because when time is limited, you stop wasting it. You stop arguing online. You stop holding grudges. You stop postponing the life you want. You ask better questions. Is this worth my energy? Is this aligned with who I want to be? Would my future self thank me for this? That's Stoic clarity. But here's the most human part of meditations. Marcus struggled. He didn't always want to get out of bed. He didn't always feel disciplined. He doubted himself constantly. This wasn't a perfect man writing from a pedestal. This was a tired human reminding himself, again and again, how to stay decent in a brutal world. And that's why the book still works. Because you don't need to be perfect. You just need to practice. Marcus believed humans were made for cooperation, not competition, not domination. Cooperation. We're limbs of the same body. So when someone behaves poorly, hurting them is like hurting yourself. The Stoic response isn't softness. It's strength with restraint. And restraint is power. But here's the turning point of the journey. Because all of this philosophy means nothing unless you can apply it on your worst days. The days when everything goes wrong. The days when your emotions feel louder than reason. Marcus had tools for that too. 3 simple practices. And once you hear them, you'll start seeing chaos very differently. But before we go there, wait till you hear this. Marcus Aurelius didn't just write ideas. He built systems to survive bad days. Because philosophy that only works when life is calm is useless when life hits hard. So he gave himself practical drills, mental habits he could return to when everything felt out of control. Let's walk through the 3 most powerful ones. 1. Morning preparation. Expect the storm. Most people wake up hoping the day will be smooth. Marcus woke up expecting friction. Not pessimistically, strategically. He would remind himself, today I will meet people who are selfish, rude, and unreasonable. Why does this matter? Because surprise is what fuels frustration. When you expect ease and meet resistance, you feel wronged. But when you expect resistance and meet it anyway, you stay calm. Think about it. If you walk outside knowing it might rain, you bring an umbrella. You don't curse the sky. Stoicism teaches emotional weather forecasting. Prepare your mind so reality can't ambush you. 2. The inner citadel, your untouchable core. Marcus believed every human has an inner fortress, a place no insult can reach, no chaos can penetrate, no external force can touch. But here's the catch. You are the gatekeeper. Whatever thoughts you allow in, anger, resentment, fear, they set up camp. Your mind becomes either a sanctuary or a battlefield. Marcus wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." That sentence alone can change your life, because it means peace isn't found by fixing the world. It's found by guarding your attention. You don't need to control everything. You need to control what you dwell on. Let's pause for a second. How much of your mental energy is spent replaying things you can't change? Arguments from the past, imaginary future disasters, other people's opinions. That's mental clutter. Stoicism is mental minimalism. Keep what's useful, release what isn't. 3. The obstacle is the way. This is where Stoicism turns suffering into fuel. Marcus believed obstacles weren't interruptions, they were the path. A blocked road? Find another route. An insult? Practice patience. A loss? Practice endurance. He wrote, "What stands in the way becomes the way." That means nothing is wasted, unless you refuse to learn from it. Pain isn't the enemy. Meaningless pain is. When you ask, "How can this make me stronger?" everything changes. You stop asking, "Why me?" and start asking, "What now?" That's growth. Here's a brutal truth. Most people don't fail because life is hard. They fail because they resist reality. They argue with what already happened. Stoicism teaches acceptance first, action second. Accept what is, then move forward. Not passive, not weak. Clear, focused, unshakable. Now let's talk about impermanence. Marcus obsessed over it, not morbidly, intentionally. He reminded himself that everything passes: success, pain, fame, failure. Why? Because when you know something won't last, you don't cling to it. You don't panic. You appreciate. And when something hurts, you remind yourself, this too will pass. Not as a cliché, as a fact. Here's a question that might sting a little. If you had 1 year left to live, what would you stop caring about? Most of your worries would vanish overnight. Marcus used that awareness daily. He didn't wait for tragedy to clarify his priorities. He chose clarity on purpose. And that's what made him powerful. But here's the final shift. Stoicism isn't about being above life. It's about being fully in it, doing your duty, helping others, living with integrity, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. Marcus wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one. Not later, not after things calm down. Now." And here's the part no one tells you. You don't need to read Meditations perfectly. You don't need to master Stoicism. You just need to practice one idea at a time. Control what you can. Release what you can't. Respond, don't react. That's the Stoic way through chaos. But we're not done yet, because there's one final realization that ties everything together, and it might be the most important of all. But here's where it gets real. Everything Marcus Aurelius believed comes down to one brutal responsibility. You are always choosing, not what happens to you, but who you become because of it. Marcus ruled an empire during plague, war, betrayal, and loss. He didn't get a calm life. He got the same chaos, just louder. And yet, his focus stayed sharp. Why? Because he stopped asking life for fairness and started asking himself for character. The final lesson: be the person you respect. Stoicism isn't about controlling emotions. It's about not letting emotions control you. It's about becoming someone who can face difficulty without becoming bitter. Marcus constantly reminded himself, you don't need praise to do good. You don't need comfort to do your duty. You don't need certainty to move forward. You just need integrity. That's it. Here's a moment worth sitting with. Marcus wrote most of Meditations not as a teacher, but as a man struggling. He complained about waking up early. He got annoyed at difficult people. He feared death, just like you. The difference? He refused to let those struggles define him. The Stoic way to handle chaos, in plain language. Let's simplify everything into a few truths you can carry with you. When life feels unfair, focus on what you can control. When emotions surge, pause before reacting. When people disappoint you, lower expectations, raise standards for yourself. When suffering appears, ask how it can shape you, not break you. When everything feels meaningless, return to service, integrity, and the present moment. That's Stoicism. Not cold, not detached, grounded. Now here's the uncomfortable question. What if peace isn't found by changing your circumstances, but by changing how you meet them? Most people wait for calm before they feel strong. Stoics reverse it. They become strong, so calm follows naturally. Marcus didn't believe happiness was guaranteed. He believed meaning was available. Meaning in showing up. Meaning in doing the right thing. Meaning in acting with character, even when no one is watching. Especially when no one is watching. Let's bring this into your life, right now. Not tomorrow, not when things improve. Ask yourself, what am I stressing over that I can't control? What thought is poisoning my peace right now? What would the calm, disciplined version of me do next? Then do that. Just one action. That's enough. Here's the paradox Marcus understood deeply. The less you cling to outcomes, the more effective you become. The less you chase approval, the freer you feel. The less you fear loss, the richer your life becomes. Because nothing external can shake someone who is anchored internally. Let's end with his most powerful reminder. A sentence he wrote to himself again and again. You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think. Not to scare you, to wake you up. Time is passing, and peace doesn't come later. It's practiced now. Final takeaway. Stoicism doesn't promise an easy life. It promises a steady mind. And in a chaotic world, that's a superpower. So the next time life feels loud, unfair, or overwhelming, remember this. You don't control the storm, but you do control the sailor. If this hit home, don't just scroll. Subscribe and start living with intention, because chaos will always exist. The question is, will it rule you, or will you rule yourself?